Okay, so let me ask you about Mars. You mentioned it would be great for science to put a base on the moon to do some research, but the truly big leap, again in this category of seemingly impossible, is to put a human being on Mars. When do you think SpaceX will land a human being on Mars?
Hmm. Best case is about 5 years. Worst case, 10 years.
What are the determining factors, would you say, from an engineering perspective, or is that not the bottlenecks?
It's fundamentally engineering the vehicle. Starship is the most complex and advanced rocket that's ever been made by, I don't know, order of magnitude or something like that. It's a lot. It's really next level. So, and the fundamental optimization of Starship is minimizing cost per ton to orbit and ultimately cost per ton to the surface of Mars. This may seem like a mercantile objective, but it is actually the thing that needs to be optimized. Like there is a certain cost per ton to the surface of Mars where we can afford to establish a self-sustaining city, and then above that we cannot afford to do it. So right now you couldn't fly to Mars for $1 trillion. No amount of money could get you a ticket to Mars. So we need to get that above, to get that like something that is actually possible at all. But that's we don't just want to have, with Mars flags and footprints and then not come back for a half century like we did with the moon. In order to pass a very important great filter, I think we need to be a multi-planet species. This may sound somewhat esoteric to a lot of people, but eventually, given enough time, that's something the Earth is likely to experience some calamity. That could be something that humans do to themselves, or an external event like happened to the dinosaurs. Eventually, and if none of that happens, and somehow magically we keep going, then the sun is gradually expanding, and will engulf the Earth, and probably Earth gets too hot for life in about 500 million years. It's a long time, but that's only 10% longer than Earth has been around. And so if you think about like the current situation, it's really remarkable, and kind of hard to believe, but Earth's been around 4.5 billion years, and this is the first time in 4.5 billion years that it's been possible to extend life beyond Earth. And that window of opportunity may be open for a long time, and I hope it is, but it also may be open for a short time. And we should, I think it was wise for us to act quickly while the window is open, just in case it closes.
Yeah, the existence of nuclear weapons, pandemics, all kinds of threats.
Yeah,
should kind of give us some motivation.
Civilization could die with a bang or a whimper. If it dies of demographic collapse, then it's more of a whimper, obviously. And if it's World War III, it's more of a bang. But these are all risks. It's important to think of these things and just, think of things as like probabilities, not certainties. There's a certain probability that something bad will happen on Earth. I think most likely the future will be good. But there's let's say for argument's sake, a 1% chance per century of a civilization ending event. Like that was Stephen Hawking's estimate. I think he might be right about that. So then, we should basically think of this like being a multi-planet species is like taking out insurance for life itself, like life insurance for life. Um,
Wow,
so
this turned into an infomercial real quick.
life insurance for life, yes. And we can bring the creatures from plants and animals from Earth to Mars and breathe life into the planet, and have a second planet with life. That would be great. They can't bring themselves there, so if we don't bring them to Mars, then they will just for sure all die when the sun expands anyway, and then that'll be it.
What do you think is the most difficult aspect of building a civilization on Mars, terraforming Mars, like from an engineering perspective, from a financial perspective, human perspective, to get a large number of folks there who will never return back to Earth?
No, they could certainly return. Some will return back to Earth.
They will choose to stay there
Yeah.
for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, many will. But we need the spaceships back, like the ones that go to Mars.
Right.
We need them back, so
Yeah.
you can hop on if you want.
Yeah.
It's like, but we can't just not have the spaceships come back. Those things are expensive. We need them back. I'd like to come back and do another trip.
I mean, do you think about the terraforming aspect, like actually building? Are you so focused right now on the spaceships part that's so critical to get to Mars?
We absolutely. If you can't get there, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we can't get there at some extraordinarily high cost. I mean, the current cost of, let's say, 1 ton to the surface of Mars is on the order of $1 billion. So, because you don't just need the rocket and the launch and everything, you need like heat shield, you need, guidance system, you need deep space communications, you need some kind of landing system. So, like rough approximation would be $1 billion per ton to the surface of Mars right now. This is obviously way too expensive to create a self-sustaining civilization. So we need to improve that by at least a factor of 1,000.
$1 million per ton?
Yes, ideally much less than $1 million a ton. But if it's not, like, it's got to be. You have to say, like, well, how much can society afford to spend, or want to spend on a self-sustaining city on Mars? The self-sustaining part is important. Like, it's just the key threshold. The great filter will have been passed when the city on Mars can survive, even if the spaceships from Earth stop coming for any reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is, but if they stop coming for any reason, will it die out or will it not? And if there's even one critical ingredient missing, then it still doesn't count. It's like, if you're on a long sea voyage and you've got everything except vitamin C, and it's only a matter of time, you're going to die. So we got to get a Mars city to the point where it's self-sustaining. I'm not sure this will really happen in my lifetime, but I hope to see it at least have a lot of momentum. And then you could say, okay, what is the minimum tonnage necessary to have a self-sustaining city? And there's a lot of uncertainty about this. So you could say, like, I don't know, it's probably at least 1 million tons, because you have to set up a lot of infrastructure on Mars. Like I said, you can't be missing anything that, in order to be self-sustaining, you can't be missing. Like, you need, semiconductor fabs, you need iron ore refineries, you need lots of things, and Mars is not super hospitable. It's the least inhospitable planet, but it's definitely a fixer-upper of a planet.
Outside of Earth.
Yes.
Earth is pretty
Earth
good.
is like easy. Yeah.
And also, we should clarify, in the solar system.
Yes, in the solar system.
There might be nice, like, vacation spots.
There might be some great planets out there, but it's hopeless.
Too hard to get there?
Yeah, way too hard, to say the least.
Let me push back on that. Not really a pushback, but a quick curveball of a question. So you did mention physics as the first starting point. So general relativity allows for wormholes. They technically can exist. Do you think those can ever be leveraged by humans to travel faster than the speed of light?
Well,
or are you saying
the wormhole thing is debatable. We currently do not know of any means of going faster than the speed of light. There is there are some ideas about having space, like so. you can only move at the speed of light through space. But if you can make space itself move, that's warping space. Space is capable of moving faster than the speed of light.
Right.
Like the universe in the Big Bang, the universe expanded at much more than the speed of light, by a lot.
Yeah.
But if this is possible, the amount of energy required to warp space is so gigantic, it boggles the mind.
So all the work you've done with propulsion, how much innovation is possible with rocket propulsion? Is this, you've seen it all, and you're constantly innovating in every aspect. How much is possible? Like, how much can you get 10x somehow? Is there something in there in physics that you can get significant improvement in terms of efficiency of engines and all those kinds of things?
Well, as I was saying, like really the Holy Grail is a fully and rapidly reusable orbital system. So right now, the Falcon 9 is the only reusable rocket out there. But the booster comes back and lands. I'm sure you've seen the videos, and we get the nose cone or fairing back, but we do not get the upper stage back. So that means that we have a minimum cost of building an upper stage. You can think of like a two-stage rocket of sort of like two airplanes, like a big airplane and a smaller airplane. And we get the big airplane back, but not the smaller airplane. And so it still costs a lot, so that upper stage is, at least $10 million. And then the degree of the booster is not as rapidly and completely reusable as we'd like, nor are the fairings. So, our kind of minimum marginal cost, not counting overhead per flight, is on the order of $15 to $20 million, maybe. So that's extremely good it's by far better than any rocket ever in history. But with full and rapid reusability, we can reduce the cost per ton to orbit by a factor of 100. But just think of it like imagine if you had an aircraft or something, or a car, and if you had to buy a new car every time you went for a drive, it would be very expensive. It would be silly, frankly. Mm-hmm. But you just refuel the car or recharge the car, and that's makes your trip like I don't know, 1,000 times cheaper. So it's the same for rockets. It's very difficult to make this complex machine that can go to orbit. And so if you cannot reuse it and have to throw even any significant part of it away, that massively increases the cost. So, Starship in theory could do a cost per launch of like $1 million, maybe $2 million or something like that. And put over 100 tons in orbit, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. So you're saying like it's by far the biggest bang for the buck is to make it fully reusable versus like some kind of brilliant breakthrough in theoretical physics.
No, there's no brilliant break. No, there's no. You're going to make the rocket reusable. This is an extremely difficult engineering problem.
Got it.
But no new physics is required.
Just brilliant engineering. Let me ask a slightly philosophical, fun question. Gotta ask. I know you're focused on getting to Mars, but once we're there on Mars, what form of government, economic system, political system do you think would work best for an early civilization of humans? The interesting reason to talk about this stuff, it also helps people dream about the future. I know you're really focused about the short-term engineering dream, but it's like, I don't know, there's something about imagining an actual civilization on Mars that really gives people hope.
Well, it would be a new frontier and an opportunity to rethink the whole nature of government, just as was done in the creation of the United States. So, I would suggest having direct democracy, like people vote directly on things, as opposed to representative democracy. So, Representative democracy, I think, is too subject to special interest and a coercion of the politicians and that kind of thing. So I'd recommend that there's just direct democracy. People vote on laws. The population votes on laws themselves, and then the laws must be short enough that people can understand them.
Yeah, and then like keeping a well-informed populace, like really being transparent about all the information about what they're voting for.
Absolute transparency.
Yeah, and not make it as annoying as those cookies where you have to accept the
cookies. Like always, there's like always like a slight amount of trepidation when you click accept cookies. Like I feel as though there's like perhaps like a very tiny chance that'll open a portal to hell or something like that.
That's exactly how I feel.
Why do they keep wanting me to accept it? What do they want with this cookie? Like somebody got upset with accepting cookies or something somewhere. I mean, who cares? Like it's so annoying to keep accepting all these cookies.
To me, this is just a great.
Yes, you can have my damn cookie. I don't care. Whatever.
You heard it from Elon first. He accepts all of your damn cookies.
Yeah. And stop asking me. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's one example of implementation of a good idea done really horribly.
Yeah, it's somebody who's like, there's some good intentions of like privacy or whatever, but now everyone just has to click accept cookies, and it's now, you have billions of people who have to keep clicking accept cookie. It's super annoying. And we just accept the damn cookie. It's fine. There is like, I think a fundamental problem that because we've not really had a major, like a world war or something like that in a while, and obviously we'd like to not have world wars. There's not been a cleansing function for rules and regulations. So wars did have, some silver lining in that there would be a reset on rules and regulations after a war. So World Wars I and II, there were huge resets on rules and regulations. Now, if the society does not have a war and there's no cleansing function or garbage collection for rules and regulations, then rules and regulations will accumulate every year because they're immortal. There's no actual humans die, but the laws don't. So we need a garbage collection function for rules and regulations. They should not just be immortal, because some of the rules and regulations that are put in place will be counterproductive, done with good intentions, but counterproductive. Sometimes not done with good intentions. So if rules and regulations just accumulate every year, and you get more and more of them, then eventually you won't be able to do anything. You're just like Gulliver with, tied down by thousands of little strings. And we see that in U.S. and like basically all economies that have been around for a while, and regulators and legislators create new rules and regulations every year, but they don't put effort into removing them. And I think that's very important that we put effort into removing rules and regulations. But it gets tough because you get special interests that then are dependent on, like they have a vested interest in that whatever rule and regulation, and that they fight to not get it removed.
Yeah, so I guess the problem with the Constitution is it's kind of like C versus Java because it doesn't have any garbage collection built in. I think there should be. When you first said the metaphor of garbage collection, I loved it.
From a coding standpoint.
From a coding standpoint, yeah. It would be interesting if the laws themselves kind of had a built-in thing where they kind of die after a while unless somebody explicitly publicly defends them. Yeah. So that's sort of, it's not like somebody has to kill them, they kind of die themselves. They disappear.
Yeah.
Not to defend Java or anything, but the C++, you could also have great garbage collection in Python and so on.
Yeah. So something needs to happen, or just the civilization's arteries just harden over time. And you can just get less and less done because there's just a rule against everything. So I think, like, I don't know, for Mars or whatever, I'd say, or even for, obviously for Earth as well, like, I think there should be an active process for removing rules and regulations and questioning their existence. Just, like, if we've got a function for creating rules and regulations, because rules and regulations you can also think of as like, they're like software or lines of code for operating civilization. That's the rules and regulations. So it's not like we shouldn't have rules and regulations, but you have code accumulation, but no code removal. And so it just gets to become basically archaic bloatware after a while. And it's just, it makes it hard for things to progress. So I don't know, maybe Mars, you'd have like any given law must have a sunset, and require active voting to keep it up there, I'd actually also say, like, and these are just, I don't know, recommendations or thoughts, and ultimately it will be up to the people on Mars to decide. But I think it should be easier to remove a law than to add one, because of just to overcome the inertia of laws. So maybe it's like, for argument's sake, you need, like, say 60% vote to have a law take effect, but only a 40% vote to remove it.